The story of Coca-Cola versus Pepsi isn't just about soda. It's a century-long war of strategy, betrayal, culture, and power. It's a story that began in the shadows of the American South and exploded into a global rivalry that has shaped how the world drinks, thinks, and even lives. But to understand this battle, we have to go back to a man named John Pemberton. It's 1886. Atlanta, Georgia, a city rebuilding from the ashes of the Civil War. Pemberton, a wounded veteran and pharmacist, is tinkering with formulas in his backyard. He's not trying to invent a soft drink. He's chasing a cure for his morphine addiction.
American culture. Such everyday familiar symbols that
He mixes up a concoction of coca leaf extract, cola nut, sugar, caramel, and some mysterious ingredients. A local pharmacy adds carbonated water to it by accident, and suddenly people start asking for it. That's how Coca-Cola was born. At first, it was just a fountain drink sold by the glass, but Pemberton wouldn't live to see its rise. He died just 2 years later, almost penniless, after selling off the formula to a businessman named Asa Candler for $2,300. Candler wasn't a chemist, he was a marketing genius. He plastered Coca-Cola ads on every surface: clocks, calendars, store signs.
cure all human ills by, in effect, drinking poisons and purging your body.
By 1900, Coca-Cola had become a national sensation. The brand wasn't just selling a drink, it was selling a lifestyle, an identity. And for years, Coke reigned alone, until a small-town pharmacist named Caleb Bradham entered the picture. In New Bern, North Carolina, Bradham created a drink made from sugar, vanilla, nutmeg, and cola nuts. He called it Brad's Drink. A few years later, in 1898, he changed the name to something catchier, Pepsi-Cola. Pepsi tried to grow, but it was like chasing a moving train. Coca-Cola had already cemented itself in the minds and hearts of Americans. Meanwhile, Bradham's business ran into financial trouble. He bet on sugar futures, assuming the price would go down. Instead, sugar prices soared. Pepsi went bankrupt in 1923. Most brands would die right there, but not Pepsi. In 1931, during the Great Depression, the brand was bought out of bankruptcy for just $10,500 by a man named Charles Guth, a candy company president frustrated that Coca-Cola wouldn't give him a better wholesale deal. Guth had a vision and a grudge. He restructured Pepsi, reformulated the drink, and made a radical move. He doubled the bottle size to 12 ounces while keeping the price at 5 cents. In a country where people were struggling to afford food, this wasn't just a good deal, it was a statement. Pepsi became the working man's cola, and Guth made sure the world knew it. He launched one of the first radio jingles in American history. Pepsi Cola hits the spot, 12 full ounces, that's a lot. Twice as much for a nickel too. Pepsi Cola is the drink for you. It was catchy, repetitive, and brilliant. Sales exploded, but Coca-Cola wasn't just going to sit quietly. While Pepsi played the volume game, Coke played the emotional game. During World War II, Coca-Cola pulled off a masterstroke of branding. CEO Robert Woodruff declared that every American in uniform should get a bottle of Coke for 5 cents, anywhere in the world. Coca-Cola built bottling plants behind military lines, shipping drinks to the front lines. For soldiers far from home, Coke became a symbol of comfort, of America itself. Pepsi wasn't part of the war effort. They missed the train. After the war, Coca-Cola came back stronger than ever. They were no longer just a drink. They were a global icon. But Pepsi was watching. In the 1950s, Pepsi made a bold and progressive move. While Coca-Cola largely ignored black consumers, Pepsi saw opportunity. They hired all-black sales teams to market specifically to African-American communities. It was a smart and socially impactful play that expanded Pepsi's footprint where Coke didn't even bother to show up. But the real game changer came in the 1960s. America was shifting, youth culture was rising. Rock and roll, rebellion, freedom. Coca-Cola was seen as old-fashioned, conservative, traditional. Pepsi pounced. In 1963, they launched a campaign that would define their brand for decades, the Pepsi generation. It was about more than taste. It was about identity. Drinking Pepsi meant you were young, energetic, forward-thinking. Suddenly, Pepsi wasn't the underdog anymore. They were the voice of a new generation. By the 1970s, the cola wars were in full swing. Pepsi had closed the gap in market share, but they wanted more. In 1975, Pepsi delivered a punch straight to Coca-Cola's pride. They launched the Pepsi Challenge. It was simple. Blind taste tests in malls and stores, 2 cups, no labels. One had Coke, one had Pepsi. Over and over, people chose Pepsi. It was sweeter, smoother, more modern. Pepsi aired these tests on TV nationwide, and they didn't stop there. They challenged Coca-Cola to respond. Coca-Cola panicked. For the first time in history, the empire cracked. Executives were rattled. Focus groups were organized. Analysts brought in. The data was undeniable. People were choosing Pepsi, so Coca-Cola did the unthinkable. In 1985, they changed the formula. They called it New Coke. It was sweeter, more like Pepsi. It tested well in taste tests, but once it hit the market, the backlash was instant. People hated it. Angry letters poured in. Coca-Cola's switchboard was flooded. Protest groups formed, demanding the return of the original formula. One group even called themselves Old Cola Drinkers of America. It was more than just taste. Coca-Cola had underestimated one thing: nostalgia. People didn't just like Coca-Cola. They loved what it represented: their childhood, their family gatherings, their identity. After just 79 days, Coca-Cola brought back the original formula, now labeled as Coca-Cola Classic. Pepsi celebrated. They ran ads congratulating Coke for admitting Pepsi tasted better. But here's the twist. Coke's blunder ended up strengthening the brand. Sales of Coca-Cola Classic soared. People rediscovered their loyalty, and Pepsi's lead started to fade again. Still, Pepsi had a new strategy: celebrity culture. They partnered with Michael Jackson in 1984. The campaign was electric, literally. During one of the commercial shoots, pyrotechnics set Jackson's hair on fire. But the buzz didn't die. In fact, Pepsi became the cool drink, aligned with pop music and global icons. Next came Madonna, then Britney Spears, Beyoncé, David Beckham, even Kendall Jenner in a controversial 2017 ad. Pepsi wanted to be wherever the spotlight was. Meanwhile, Coca-Cola focused on emotion and tradition. Their holiday campaigns featuring Santa Claus and polar bears became iconic. Their ads didn't chase trends. They anchored themselves in timeless joy and unity. 2 brands, 2 strategies. But Pepsi was playing a longer game. In the late 1990s, they began diversifying aggressively. They bought Frito-Lay, then Tropicana, then Gatorade and Quaker Oats. By the early 2000s, PepsiCo wasn't just a beverage company. They were a snack and drink empire. They could sell you a bag of Doritos, a bottle of Gatorade, and a can of Pepsi, all from one shelf. Coca-Cola stayed focused on beverages, expanding into water, juices, teas, and energy drinks. But Pepsi's diversification gave them a new advantage: shelf domination. Then came the digital age. Pepsi jumped on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere young audiences lived. Their campaigns were fast, trendy, memeable. Coca-Cola, always slower, took time. But when they did strike, they hit big. In 2011, they launched Share a Coke. Personalized bottles with people's names. It was simple, emotional, viral. People bought Coke bottles just to find their name or their crushes. Instagram lit up. People were buying more Coca-Cola just to share a photo. Sales jumped by over 2% in a single year, a massive win in the beverage industry. Pepsi tried to answer with Pepsi-moji, emoji faces on bottles, but it couldn't match the cultural moment Coke had captured. By the late 2000s and 10s, a new threat emerged: health consciousness. People were drinking less soda. Sugar was the villain now. Both companies adapted. Pepsi launched zero-calorie drinks, sugar-free Mountain Dew, bubbly sparkling water. Coca-Cola pushed Coke Zero, Dasani, Honest Tea. The war had shifted again, this time from flavor to functionality. And then came sustainability, plastic waste, climate change. Coca-Cola announced bold plans to make all packaging recyclable and invest in green energy. PepsiCo pledged to cut greenhouse gas emissions and redesign supply chains. But through all of it, this war never ended. Even today, ask anyone, Coke or Pepsi, everyone has an answer. Everyone has a preference. It's more than taste. It's about who they are. Coca-Cola is tradition. It's home. It's comfort. Pepsi is edge. It's youth. It's rebellion. Both have stumbled. Both have soared. And both have redefined what it means to build a brand, sell a product, and create a cultural legacy. Coca-Cola is still the most recognized brand on earth. Pepsi is still the most powerful challenger the world has ever seen. And while the battlefield may shift, from fountains to bottles, from shelves to screens, the war rages on, not with bullets, but with branding, not with battles, but with billions, not with armies, but with advertising. This isn't just a cola war. It's a war for hearts, minds, and memories, and it's far from over. And now here's the question. Whose side are you on? Coca-Cola or Pepsi? Let us know in the comments below, because this war isn't just about brands, it's about you. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the biggest rivalries in business history, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe for more untold stories, behind-the-scenes battles, and powerful brand wars that shape the world as we know it. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of these legendary stories. Thanks for watching, and remember, in business, as in life, it's not just about winning, it's about outlasting your rival. See you in the next one.